221-0864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall. It's out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion. And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you. It was a good weekend for Oregon men's basketball, and Oregon women's basketball going to have a quick turnaround as they look for a bounce back after what was, let's be honest, a tough trip to the state of Arizona. We're going to talk about all of it. Going to hear from Kelly Graves, going to hear from Dane Altman, going to hear from Will Richardson after a mountain road trip sweep for Oregon men's basketball. The first time that the Ducks have been able to do that in the Pac-12 era. Because think about it. It was the first time that Oregon won in Boulder in program history last Thursday. So when the Ducks were able to hold on to that lead and get the 3-point win over Utah on Saturday, the first mountain road trip sweep in the history of Oregon men's basketball in the Pac-12. So that's good. Good things, right? And learning from a win that was a little bit ugly at times for Oregon men's basketball, it's good to learn from a win rather than from a loss, as the Ducks are still where they want to be heading down the stretch of the season, because we're here in February. We're 7 days away from Valentine's Day, and Oregon has the best record after Valentine's Day in the Pac-12 over the last decade. They've been just that good, and that's why you always see things like Dane Altman getting those credits for aligning the Rubik's Cube. It's always the Rubik's Cube, right? But yeah, it's amazing to think about what the Ducks have done over the last 10 years. And I think that the praise of always figuring it out at the end of the season, well, the numbers back that up. And the way that the Ducks have finished over the last few years, it really backs that up. So we're going to talk about it as Arizona sits at 9-1, UCLA sits at 8-3, and Oregon sits at 8-3. But Washington State is on the schedule a week from today on Valentine's Day. They're sitting at 7-3 right behind the Ducks. Can't forget about them. That's an interesting team right now. So we're going to talk about all that. And then also I want to get into a little bit of men's golf. Justin Herbert, what a performance for him in the Pro Bowl, which was cool. The offensive MVP, Justin Herbert, Pro Ducks. And then we have a few other news and notes from around Oregon athletics, especially with Oregon softball. Their season begins this weekend. Oregon baseball, a couple weeks from now, their season begins. And then we still have a ton of interviews from our signing day special, getting to know this new Oregon football coaching staff. That's all on the horizon for you today on Duck Insider. So coming off the nice win in Boulder for Oregon men's basketball, and the Ducks led by as many as 15 in Salt Lake City. Ducks have been really good in Salt Lake City. They've only dropped 2 games to Utah in the Pac-12 era. One of them in Eugene, one of them in Salt Lake City. This one got a little too close for comfort, though, didn't it? An 80-77 final for the Ducks, and we saw a lot of great things in the first half. Got out to a huge lead, and then felt like Oregon could have pulled away and maybe even blown the Utes out. But credit to Utah, man. They played hard. They came back, hit some shots, but the Ducks made mistakes down the stretch. Veteran guards shouldn't be turning it over as many times as the Ducks did down the stretch. Dane Altman said as much post-game. But the Ducks were able to win it because they did hit some critical shots, like Will Richardson pulling up from the logo to put the Ducks up 10 at the time. And Coach Altman, I will take you inside the plane ride home just a little bit. He was joking that Will about gave him an aneurysm when he pulled up and took that shot from the logo, but it went in. And those are the things that good players and great players have to do. And I think that Will Richardson scoring 25 points on 10 of 18 shooting really asserted himself at times in this game. 5 of 7 from 3 for the Pac-12's leader in three-point shooting, and Will also had 5 assists for the Ducks. Davion Harmon. We saw our first Davion Harmon dunk of the season. So I have to say, Will Patterson, the sports information director, communications director for Oregon men's basketball, we discussed this because he called it the Davion dunk, like our first Davion dunk of the year. I like Dante Dunk, so I submitted the Harmon Hammer. I like Harmon Hammer. That's what I said on the broadcast, like Davion Harmon with the hammer. I think Harmon Hammer is going to be my phrase for him. And then we were discussing who else can you have fun alliterations with. Well, the Frank Kepnong flush, the Frank flush, you know. Other than that, though, I'm running out of alliterations for the basketball team. But I like Harmon Hammer. We saw our first one in Davion. I thought, you know, he had a nice game. That traveling violation late is what everyone, including himself, is going to remember. But he still scored 12 points, and he had 6 assists in the game. So Will Richardson had 5. Davion Harmon had 6. And then Jacob Young had 4 assists. Your backcourt combines for 15 assists in the game. The Ducks had 17 assists total on 29 made field goals. Not a bad ratio, but those numbers stuck out to me because the Ducks moved the ball, they generated some transition, but it was those turnovers late that the Ducks are going to have to learn from. Another shout out to Quincy Guerrier. I think that he is, I've been saying it, a real X factor for the Ducks. I think that if he starts to play with more dominance, Oregon's going to be really, really tough to beat because Quincy had 11 points and he had 7 rebounds. Solid effort. Wasn't the leading rebounder, though. That honor belongs to Eric Williams Jr. He had 7 points and 10 rebounds. And Eric made what was one of the best passes on an inbounds play that I have ever seen. So that came at the end of the game. Eric Williams to Jacob Young on the final inbound play to put the game away was huge. Just absolutely perfect. If you haven't seen the video, to be honest with you, even if you have seen the video as I'm thinking about this, the over-the-top camera doesn't even do it justice. Sitting courtside, I mean, Eric Williams just reared back, got it right over the hand of the defender into Jacob Young's hands, hit him in stride, looked like a quarterback to a wide receiver streaking up the field. Amazing play. And Coach Altman said at postgame, we'll hear from him in a bit, that was by design, that if the Ducks didn't have anything quick inbound, just go over the top, take chances, take the chance. And they did, and it worked out. So the Ducks are sitting in a good spot. You know, I don't want to sit here and discount what the win means because it's significant when you go on the road and win. But especially now as you get ready for a game tonight between Arizona and Arizona State. Maybe Arizona State can keep the magic up after their great weekend. If Arizona State is able to knock off Arizona, that'd be the second loss for Arizona. And then the Ducks sitting at 8-3, tied with UCLA, but Oregon currently owns the tiebreaker against UCLA. So the Ducks are in second place. Might get a little help, need some help to catch Arizona. But if Arizona loses tonight, and then the Ducks can go on the road and beat Arizona, and by the way, the one meeting this year, because remember, the way that 20-game schedule works for the Pac-12, the Ducks will not play Arizona and Eugene this year. They already played Arizona State and lost that game early in the season in December. So Arizona, though, if the Ducks can get a little help, maybe from ASU, maybe from somebody else, a win on the road, huge for the Ducks. But to even have that conversation, you have to take care of business at home against Stanford coming up on Thursday of this week. So the Ducks sit in second place. Washington State's behind them at 7-3, then USC at 9-4, Washington at 7-4, and then it's Stanford at 7-5. So the Ducks do have some work ahead of them, but so far, so good. They took care of business on the road. Now they got to take care of business at home here in 3 games over the course of Thursday through Monday. Because remember, Washington State added to the schedule as a makeup for the game that was postponed next Monday. Let's hear from Dana Altman, the Oregon men's basketball head coach. He met with the media postgame.
Dana, just take us through the last 5 minutes there where you go from a 14-point lead to sweating it a whole lot more probably than you ever imagined.
No, I hope we learn from this. Our guards have to do a better job, tougher, lower, Jacob on the inbounds pass there. He's got to go get that ball, and they shoot a layup there. Davion travels. Fortunately, Eric hit 2 big free throws. Quincy hit 2 big free throws. But offensive rebounds for their baskets. We didn't finish tough. And I told the guys that. I said that was just a soft finish. And very disappointed because we did some very good things in that game. And, we should have been up more at half. We had bad turnovers and then some turnovers, and they beat us on the boards in the second half. And I thought that was a big stat. They got some second opportunities.
Can you just maybe talk about just the importance of finding a way, any way to get a win and keeping your season kind of in the right direction?
Oh, absolutely. No. I mean, and I told the guys that, that's the biggest plus. We found a way to win. But I don't know if we'd be that fortunate, again, if we put ourselves in that position. And so I wanted them to learn from that, we just got to be much tougher, turnovers, offensive rebounds. That's not the way to finish a game. And we should have been in much better position. Again, fortunately, we hit those free throws. Fortunately, Eric threw a perfect pass. I just told him, I said, if there's nobody wide open underneath, foot long, we'll take our chances there. And fortunately, it was a really good pass and a really good catch. So we did make some plays to finish it, but we should have never been in that position. We put ourselves in that position with some very questionable plays.
Yeah, Dana, speaking of that long pass, is that something that you guys practice a lot? It would seem like it's, pretty precise pass there at the end.
We don't practice it a lot. I mean, we do practice it, but we don't practice it a lot. To be, you hope you don't have to use it that often, but again, I'm banking on vets. We went with our vets there and hoping they would make plays, and we made some poor ones, but then again, Eric's stepping up and hitting 2 free throws, Quincy stepping up and hitting 2 free throws, and then Eric's good pass to Jacob, offensively put us in a good enough position to overcome some very questionable plays.
It was another game where you guys didn't find too much production out of your bigs. Fortunately, you had great guard play tonight, so it wasn't fatal for you. But going forward, how do you get Dante and Frank more productive and more comfortable in the game?
Well, they're going to have to play better. I mean, we threw it, to Dante a few times, and we had turnovers. We didn't finish, and defensively, they did not do a good job. So they're just going to have to play better. We need them, no doubt about it. I'll look at the film, but right now, I just didn't think they played very well.
Yeah, Coach. Quincy hit three threes and those free throws that you mentioned. Is that something that you guys have been waiting for him to get hot from deep, or is that surprising for him tonight?
Well, he's been a little inconsistent with his three, but he's had some big games. We ran a couple sets for him, and he finished them. So I thought he had a drive there when he kicked it one time. I thought he was going to go lay it up, and he kicked it out. But no, I thought he did some good things. Had 7 rebounds. Eric had 10. So, those 2 guys really helped us there.
Yeah, Coach, I was wondering about Carlson. He seemed to be able to score sometimes at will from outside, inside. Was it your defense that stopped him, or did they just not go to him enough?
Well, he had 11 points, 5 for 8. They turned it over a couple times going to him. We fronted, and when they did, they overthrew him, and we had some pretty good defensive plays there. But he is a good offensive player. He's the leading scorer. Hit a big 3 there. But, I thought when we did front him, we didn't run into any problems. We ran into problems when we played behind and let him catch and then tried to guard him after that. We didn't stop him. When he was able to catch and bring it, we didn't get stops on him.
More to come from Oregon men's basketball, but the Ducks get the win. They found a way to win at Utah, and they sweep the mountain road trip, getting ready for Stanford and Cal now coming up this week. We'll talk more with Coach Altman on Tip-Off Tuesday tomorrow, Basketball Coaches Show. Haven't had one the last couple weeks because we've had games going on Tuesdays, but we will be back with our Coaches Show coming up on Tuesday. Terry John sitting down with Kelly Graves. We're going to hear from him coming up a little bit as we talk women's basketball, and then we've got men's basketball as well at home against Stanford. And Dana Altman, the message going to be bring it every single night. Because look at what happened to UCLA. Lost in triple overtime to Arizona State. Which, by the way, on the flight home, every single person was trying to find a way to keep track of that score, and hard to do when your cell phone's in airplane mode. When we landed, everybody was looking at the highlights. That was the flight home. The men's team was trying to see if Arizona State had pulled it off, and they did in triple overtime against UCLA. When we come back, we're going to hear from Will Richardson, talk a little bit of women's basketball as well. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, you can't stop a new 2022 Toyota. No matter the weather, the Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone's comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Dear winter, you can't stop a new 2022 Toyota. No matter the weather, the Camry all-wheel drive comes out to play. Snowy hills don't stand a chance against the RAV4, and everyone's comfy in the Highlander. See you in the snow. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Oh, I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you. A reminder from our friends at the Duck Store, proud to sponsor University of Oregon Athletics and Women in Flight. UO's nonprofit store serving the campus community since 1920. They're doing a campaign right now called Dear Coach. So if you go to one of the Duck Store locations, it's really aimed toward young people, kids. What questions would you have for a coach? Write one to a coach, submit it. And thanks to our friends at the Duck Store. So they're doing this campaign, and we're actually planning on taking all the submissions from kids from the various Duck Stores, and then we're going to ask the coaches. We're going to film their responses, and you're going to see them. Pretty cool, right? Chance to ask the coach. And I swear, if someone doesn't ask the coaches what their favorite breakfast is, I may have to plant one. I may have to go to the Duck Store and just be like, guys, I need somebody to ask this. Because, trust me, you'll get some interesting responses from the coaches. I'll just leave it at that. Will Richardson talked postgame after his 25-point performance, has really stepped into a leadership role for this Oregon men's basketball team. And right now, the bracketology has the Ducks as one of the last 4 buys. That's the latest bracketology, at least by consensus, looking at all the different brackets this morning. That's great. Means the Ducks don't have to play in the first 4. Means the Ducks are in the field. How do you stay in the field? You're going to need Will Richardson to keep playing well. He talked with the media postgame after that close win at Utah.
Yeah, Will, can you just take us through kind of those frantic last couple minutes there, and also just that final play at the end, that long pass to Jacob?
I mean, in a couple final possessions, I mean, we missed a couple key rebounds. We kind of just started settling, you know, and we just missed some good rebounds. And Utah was playing hard. All credit to them. And last play was, I mean, we drew up a play and we tried something short, and if it wasn't there, then our last resort was to go long, but he was open, so it worked out.
Yeah, well, just the importance of getting this win and finding any way to win. Just what can it say about this team and just finding a way to win?
I mean, this is a big win, big road trip for us, you know, to come to the mountain schools and get 2-0. It's always big, no matter how you do it, especially on the road. Our Coach Altman always preaches, we just got to find a way to grind it out. we went up by a double-digit halftime, and we just kind of got, like, you know, complacent with ourselves, and they went on a run. But all credit to our team. We fought through the run. We stayed together as a team, and we came out victorious. So definitely a good win.
Well, what is it about these guys that you have had by far your best career splits? And it's not even close. Your career averages against these guys are so far and away the best in your career. Second time this season you've hit 5 3-pointers against them. What is it about this matchup? Different coaches, different players. You just kill them.
Honestly, I just think that's a coincidence. I have no idea. I just kind of let the game come to me. I came to play today. Like our coach always says, sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. So, you know, last game, JY had the big game, so we felt the hot hand. And today I had a good game. So, you know, we just go with the flow. And today was my day, I guess. I don't know. I think it's a coincidence, though.
Well, earlier in the year when you guys were struggling to find success, you guys said a lot of it was just kind of getting to know each other and getting used to playing with each other. Is that kind of one of the reasons for the struggle to close these games out late a little bit down the stretch?
I'd say, yeah, a little bit, but we just got to man up, you know. Like, we know each other by now. We're pretty comfortable with each other. We just got to man up and compete. Like I said, we just weren't competing hard in the game. We missed a couple key rebounds, and we didn't execute on offense. So it's on us, mainly us. So we just have to refocus and regroup, go home, and get it back together. But this was definitely a step in the right direction because we fought adversity 2 games in a row. So.
Yeah, Will, you know, that deep logo 3 and the left wing hierarchy 3 were both very timely. Was that something that the defense was just giving you, or did you feel that out throughout the game?
I just been talking to my coaches and some of the grad assistants, and they just keep telling me stay aggressive. So that's what I did today. I just stayed aggressive, and that's just the shot that they gave me, so it's a shot I took.
You gotta love to see the aggressiveness, because I think that is one of the differences in Will Richardson's game right now. He is playing with a lot more aggressiveness, and it's been great to see. Again, as a sophomore, he led the Pac-12 in three-point shooting percentage. This year, he's pacing the Pac-12 right now to have another year where he leads the Pac-12 in three-point shooting percentage. As a sophomore, though, I believe he took the 3rd most threes on that team. Maybe 2nd most. I'm going to have to go back and check my stats. But I think he took the 3rd most threes, and he wasn't one of the high-volume three-point shooters in the league. He was very selective. Well, last couple of years, it's been like, hey, Will, you can hit those shots. Take them. And now he's taking them, and he's hitting them in a big way, which is cool to see. You love to see that development from a guy like Will Richardson. So the Ducks are sitting in 2nd place in the Pac-12 standings. They need a little bit of help. But if Arizona drops another one, then the Ducks could go into McHale here in a few weeks if they continue to take care of business and maybe do something pretty special, which would be awesome to see. Meanwhile, for Oregon women's basketball, the Arizona showdown on Friday after some travel trouble. They didn't have their plane leave on time, ended up having to fly the day of, and Coach Graves even told the team, like, hey, this is like professional basketball. You're going to sometimes charter, and you're going to fly in the day of a game. Well, that's what the Ducks had to do, and the game, unfortunately, did not go Oregon's way. Coach was honest, said that Arizona maybe wanted a little bit more than the Ducks did in that Friday night matchup. But then they were looking for that bounce back against Arizona State, and it was like there was a lid on top of the basket for both teams, but particularly for Oregon. They did not shoot well, was not their best performance on Sunday, and a tough game. Rebounds down the stretch, I thought, were the difference as well, but the Ducks just didn't hit enough shots against that swarming Arizona State defense to get the victory. The good news, the Ducks are still sitting at number 24 in the polls, and just like the men, Oregon women's basketball also sitting at number 2 in the Pac-12 standings. But what does that loss mean? Well, we're going to talk with Coach Graves about that coming up in a moment. Quick timeout. When we return, Kelly Graves on that Arizona road trip and how they can bounce back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Money isn't interested in the fact that you dream of going to Greece, and it doesn't pace at night wondering how you'll pay for braces 3 times. The point is, money without people is just money. Only people can use it to run the family ranch, buy their first house, or adopt a happy old dog. To us, the powerful thing about money isn't money at all. It's helping you harness the power of yours. On Point. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studio. Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with the Oregon women's basketball, a tough road trip. They're at number 24 in the polls today, which is good news. They're still a top 25 team, still hoping that they might be able to host the first couple rounds of the NCAA tournament, because remember, for women's basketball, the first two rounds are hosted by the top 16 seeds. What an advantage that is. That's why you play to be one of those top 16 seeds, among other reasons. But the Ducks, certainly a black eye this past weekend. They were on an 8-game winning streak, took a couple losses in Arizona. And they're going to have to bounce back quickly because they're traveling to Pullman tomorrow to play that makeup game against Washington State. As a result of that noon tip-off, which we'll have an 11:30 pregame show with Terry Johns from Pullman, we won't have a Duck Insider that day. We do the show live from 1 to 2, so we'll be tuned into Oregon women's basketball instead of doing Duck Insider on Wednesday. Programming note for you. But an 11:30 pregame with Terry Johns and a noon tip-off for Oregon taking on Washington State, who is a sneaky good team in the Pac-12. It's also going to be on Pac-12 Network. You can watch it, sync up to Terry on the call. But this was a tough loss for the Ducks against Arizona State. And Kelly Graves, you can imagine, after a long post-game conversation, frustrated. But now the Ducks got to learn from it. Here's what Coach Graves had to say yesterday following the loss to Arizona State.
Tough game. This was a tough trip for us. You know, every season you have a high water mark. We've had one of those, and I think this is considered maybe our lowest point. Sometimes you can't get better until you have that low point. So hopefully we'll use this to to get better. That's the bottom line. Get better. We're just too inconsistent. I thought defensively this weekend we were okay. Just offensively, we're just had a tough weekend. I won't have a lot of answers for you. So go for it.
Kelly, good to see Niara back. She doesn't play the final 153 though. Was she just out of gas? Were you looking at something different personnel?
Yeah, it's beyond that. It's beyond that. She's, it was amazing that she actually went tonight. I give her a lot of credit. She fought through. She's just, got some issues right now. She's trying to get through. So, bless her heart.
Yeah, Kelly, if I could expand on that, is it more or less just the knee thing with Niara? I think she got a bloody nose midway through the game. Would it have anything to do with that, or is it just something you can't talk about at this point?
No, it wasn't the bloody nose. Yeah, I can't really go in depth, you guys. It's just, she's battling through, and we ask a lot of her, and sometimes that's difficult. There's a lot on her shoulders, and bless her heart, man. I love that kid, and she's given us everything that she's got. Yeah, I just, I can't get into a lot of that stuff. I always have a question on anything medical related. I just,
Coach, obviously this weekend was tough for you, but how do you keep it from snowballing, especially when you have two tough games against Washington State and also Oregon State coming up?
Yeah, well, we talked about that. It doesn't get any easier. I mean, and give Arizona State credit. They played harder than us tonight. They defended us well. And a couple of our best players. I mean, we combined 5 for 25. and you're just not going to win games. 5 for 25. I mean, seriously, in a one possession game. And we actually had the ball. I thought we had the right call late, and we didn't execute it the way we wanted to. The ball screen was kind of on the wrong side. We ended up getting a decent 3-point look at it from Elise in the corner, which is why she was on the court at the end, and it didn't go in. Then it kind of became a foul fest. But I was a little disappointed in our defensive execution late in the game. Jade Lavelle gets the ball on the baseline, and we knew it was going to be some kind of a clear out for her. And, she got biased there at the point, on the ball, but there was no help side. I mean, it's like, hello, we knew it was going to Lavelle, and she was going to try and make a play one-on-one. There was no help at the rim. And so she makes the layup, and there you go. So it's just those close games are really tough. Those are the ones you relive over and over. But you're right. We got to pick ourselves up. And nobody's feeling sorry for us. We've won a lot of games in this conference, and we're down right now. People they're gonna see that, and they're gonna stomp on us. So we got to somehow find it within ourselves to, get better. It's like you said, at Washington State, Oregon State twice. That's never easy. And then, we got Stanford the next weekend, and might have a makeup game that next weekend. So we might have 6 games in the next 2 weeks. So got to figure, and we still got to go to the mountains. So it doesn't get any easier. We better figure it out.
You mentioned the offensive struggle, like the offense in general struggled
well,
tonight.
I think, okay, so there's no one person there. I think anytime you play Arizona State, you got to give them the credit. They're a really good defensive team. They gave us all we could handle earlier in the week at our place. But you can't expect to, score. We didn't even did we hit 50 at all this week? I mean, you guys, you don't score 50 points, you're not going to ever win on the road. Sorry. And not in Pac-12 play. So, I thought we got some pretty good shots. You guys watched the game. I think we had a good plan for when they double and triple team Niara inside, and we just didn't execute good passes outside out of that double team. Well, those are things that when you work on them, you got to then execute in the game. So, yes, it was a little of us and definitely a little of their solid defense.
Again, kind of to the week ahead, Kelly, because stylistically, Wazoo and Oregon State are going to try to do a lot of the same things. And again, I realize like anybody who holds anyone under 40% is going to have a good chance to win.
Yeah.
But there's no stronger indicator of success and failure for you guys of an opponent of holding you under 40%. You're 1-10 your last 11 the last 2 years. How do you get some of your offense
Make shots. Make shots. James, you saw how many shots do we have at the rim? How many shots are we taking off balance? Even the last one there that Sedona got, it was a great look for her. By the way, I thought Sedona played really, really well tonight. It was good to see. I just think going forward, we've got to go with that big lineup. But, I thought, for the most part, we had actually decent shots. And I thought Tahina had some pretty good looks as well. Sid, a couple of wide open ones. I don't know the answer. Otherwise, I would have called some different plays or got different kids in. I think it was one of those weekends where, either confidence or, just everything they're not seeing the ball go in right now. And so, mental side of this, it has a big to do with it. I think we're running the right stuff. I just think we got to work harder and have more confidence and continue to execute. We could have set better screens tonight. We could have spaced the floor a little bit better. There's always little things, but I don't think we're doing anything wrong. Just, it was a tough weekend. We just got to keep playing hard, man, and keep our heads up and keep loving each other and believe in each other. And who knows, we hope it'll turn around.
I think it will turn around. That's Kelly Graves talking post-game after the loss to Arizona State. Zona Prince was a bright spot. Health of Niara Sabali. She's working through some stuff, as Coach said. I think that's going to continue to be a focus for this team. And Tina Paopao, I just saw a comment on the YouTube stream. I mean, Tina Paopao, I think, wasn't her best game. And, you know, when you have your best players shoot 2 of 25, it's tough. Right? It's tough to win a game like that. So we'll see, because the Ducks are going to have to bounce back. This is a little bit of maybe a good thing, right? Like, it's twofold. Would you rather be in the lab? Would you rather be practicing and trying to get some things right? Absolutely. That's necessary. But sometimes after a tough loss, maybe it's better that you just got to get back up, get on a plane, fly to Washington State, and beat the Cougars. Ducks don't really have a choice, but sometimes maybe it's nice that you got to get right back up to it and go play a game. It's a little bit of that baseball mentality, I guess, like you play the back-to-back games. And honestly, it's kind of like a tournament in that regard for basketball. You know, you could get punched in the mouth, then you got to get right back to it, get rolling. I think that's what this team is trying to figure out right now. When we come back, we got more coming up. Some great news around Oregon athletics this weekend, and we're going to continue hearing from the Oregon football coaching staff. We've got a ton of interviews still from our National Signing Day special. For those of you on the radio side of our audience that you haven't heard them, well, you're going to hear from Adrian Clem as well when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you is.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Well, welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Time for your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill before we talk a little bit of football. And a good start for Oregon men's golf. They closed out the 2022 spring opener by shooting the lowest round of the tournament, a 7-under 281 Saturday. Played it in Hawaii. Not a bad trip, huh? The Ducks, though, I think this is a good starting point. That was kind of the note from Casey Martin talking with him afterwards. But the improvement over the course from round 1 to round 3 was significant. The Ducks ended up at 291 in round 1, 284 round 2, and then 218 in round 3. That's what you love to see is the improvement. So a good start for Oregon men's golf. We're going to talk with Casey Martin. We got to have him on to talk about the Jake. If you missed the news, Oregon Athletics is building a state-of-the-art golf facility in conjunction with Emerald Valley Golf Club. That's coming later this year is when ground will break, and it's, going to be really cool for Oregon men's golf. Justin Herbert, the Pro Bowl offensive MVP, he went 7 for 11, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pro Ducks Love to see it. And women's tennis went 2-0 this weekend. They beat Wisconsin 4-3 on Saturday. They were excited about it. That's cool for Courtney Nagel's squad starting out their spring season with a nice victory. Also of note, for Oregon women's golf, they get their season rolling next week. Oregon track and field resumes the indoor season this weekend, and there is a slew of tennis action as well, as Oregon softball opening its season on the road with a 5:30 start on Thursday. The Ducks are going to play Ole Miss in Fullerton. Our guys at KWVA are going to have the call. Ryan Milano is actually here in studio right now. Ryan, the OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire. He will also have the call for you coming up for Oregon softball for a lot of games this season, including the opener on Thursday at 5:30 against Ole Miss. And Oregon lacrosse this season begins against George Mason Saturday at noon at Pape Field. We've got a really cool segment coming your way shortly, so keep an eye out for it this week. With the first game for Oregon lacrosse coming up on Saturday, we're miking up Chelsea Hoffman, Oregon head coach, at practice this afternoon. So keep your eye out for that coming up over the next few days. And again, if you're just joining us, Oregon women's basketball will be in Pullman at noon on Wednesday. Noon on Wednesday. The Ducks are taking on Washington State. 11:30 pregame with Terry Johns here on the Oregon Sports Network. That means no Duck Insider for us that day because we do the show from 1 to 2, and the women are going to be playing during our showtime. So why would anybody be listening to us and watching this when you could be tuning in to Oregon women's basketball? That's just the way that it goes. 2-minute drill brought to you by Cafe Yum Restaurants throughout Oregon and Washington, serving Northwest-inspired catering and takeout for your next gathering or meeting. Menus are always available at cafeyum.com. All right, that's your 2-minute drill around Oregon athletics. And now I want to pivot, and we're going to continue to get a lot of these interviews in. If you want to watch the entire National Signing Day special, you can do so on the Go Ducks YouTube, the Oregon Football Facebook. A lot of great stuff from this new Oregon football coaching staff. Let's go now to Adrian Clem. He was actually the first guy that we talked to, new offensive line coach and associate head coach for the Ducks. I had the chance to sit down with Adrian Clem to get to know his journey a little bit. Coach, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you? Joey Mack, so you've been in Eugene, Oregon now for how many days total?
A little less than a month.
Man, so are you settled in? You feel like you've hit the ground yet?
Somewhat. I've been here for almost a month, but I've only physically been here for about 6 days.
So that's what I was curious about. Like, you guys have been out recruiting. You guys have been settling in. And before we get to all of that, one thing that I love to do every time I have somebody on the show for the first time, what's your 2-minute life story? Like, tell us how you got here. Introduce yourself to the fans a little bit.
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. My mom and dad are from Belize, first generation. Went to University of Hawaii. Started off 4 years offensive line. Went to the New England Patriots. I was drafted there. 2000 draft, same draft as Tom Brady, which is remarkable. He's just now
retired.
Yeah, so I stayed there. I was there my first 5 years in the league. Won 3 Super Bowls. Went to Green Bay Packers for 2. Retired in Oakland. Was retired for a couple years. And then realized everybody else my age was working. I got bored real fast, and was fortunate enough to get into coaching and find my passion. I was at SMU for 4 years, recruiting coordinator, offensive line. Went to UCLA as the same role I am now, associate head coach, run game coordinator, O-line. And then went to Pittsburgh Steelers the last 3 years as offensive line coach, and here I am.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your NFL experience, Coach. Just how much did that shape the way that you go about coaching at the college level now that you're back in these ranks?
Well, I coach the guys the way I'd like to be a coach. So I never make it personal, but I'm demanding. I have certain expectations. I try to pursue guys and sign guys that have the same goals as I did, that have greater aspirations than just to be all conference. Guys that are mature or that have the capability to become mature.
Sure.
The type of guys that we want here on campus, as well as, good athletes. So just looking for the total package.
Yeah. This is a good time for everybody, for me to remind you that GoDucks.com/signing day has everything that you need to know about the guys who have their letters of intent in, have been signed. I know. I see all the same reports that you all do, that social media runs rampant, Coach, as you know, that there's a lot of scheduled times of announcements, those sorts of things. Just know that throughout the course of the day, the Oregon football social media will have those announcements for you at the right time. But I just want to remind everybody that I don't want to get an angry email from compliance and get any coaches in trouble because, well, you have to live and breathe that over the recruiting trail, don't you?
Yeah, no doubt, yes.
So we'll have just some more updates for you. But first, Coach, I do want to talk about some of the recruits. Michael Wooten is a guy that immediately comes to mind. Already in, already signed. Just tell us what you saw with Michael Wooten and a 6'6", 290-pound freshman out of California.
Hey, he's a guy that's on the rise. He has a lot of ability. He's gotten better. Obviously, I watched his film when I first got here, and just his progression from last year to this year has been pretty remarkable, and I think he's on the upward trend. I'm just excited to get my hands on.
What do you see in your position group that you've inherited, Coach? Tell us about the current roster.
Just they did a really good job of developing the culture in that room. The guys, we went to a group dinner last night, offensive line dinner, and just they're all really close. And it's a competitive group, but at the same time, they're a close group. And sometimes when you're fighting for the same cause, and you're working together in that manner, you don't have to worry about all the little pettiness that some groups may have. I mean, it has a great effect on the group as a whole.
That's really interesting because you guys, everybody says, right, you got to win in the trenches to win a football game, but you guys aren't the ones that get the accolades and the statistics and all these things. I mean, just there's a certain mentality to an offensive line.
Yeah, you're overworked and underappreciated, right? You make the engine go, but nobody talks about it unless you do something wrong. So you play 70 snaps and you mess up one, and everybody's talking about how bad of a game you played. And just one of those things, you just have to be mentally tough and just have some intestinal fortitude, and you just get after it week after week.
Mentally tough. I'm curious about that. I mean, how do you go about coaching that? What's your philosophy?
You develop it. You create a culture in a room where there's a sense of urgency, and just create a competitive environment. And either guys, it could develop guys and it could sharpen it, but they have to inherently have something in them that's a driving force and have a competitive spirit.
Sure. So your time in the Pac-12, you're familiar, right? Mm-hmm. You're familiar with this league. What do you make of the Pac-12 now as you return to these ranks?
Just obviously Oregon's had some great success over the course of the last few years, and just want to take it to the next level. Get over that last hurdle, and just want to play a different style of football in terms of my room. I want to have a big physical group, and one that can impose their will week in and week out.
Back to you for a moment, Coach. Tell us why Oregon mattered to you. Why'd you come here? What was it about this place?
Well, I'm a West Coast guy, but in addition to it, I love having an impact on players day to day. NFL, sometimes you feel like we don't have control over your room in terms of who you get, but in addition to that, sometimes you're babysitting a little bit as guys get a little bit older in age.
Sure.
So I love the development factor. I love going into a home and selecting a guy that, their mindset is similar to yours, and developing that and taking it further.
What about the idea, of player development over the course of a 5-year period? Because you mentioned what you're looking for in a recruit, right? Mm-hmm. Well, once you get them on campus, maybe I'll ask you this way. What's the first thing that you do when you get a guy on campus? What's your approach?
Well, I mean, before they even get on campus, I've spent a good amount of time developing a relationship. This is pretty unique just because I've only been here a few weeks recruiting.
Sure.
But even that, I don't cast a big net. I focus on a few guys early on, and then it gets even smaller. And it's not because guys are pulling themselves coming to other places, because I'm not for everybody, and not everybody's for me.
Sure.
So I kind of hone in on that, and maybe it's about 10 guys that I recruit. Maybe I land 4, sometimes it's 6, and then they got to figure out the numbers, Yeah. But I want high pedigree guys that get after it, and I don't want to make any concessions. I like to get a certain kind of guy, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So, I develop those relationships, and so I'm not talking to a bunch of guys, it's a few guys. So we're able to develop that kind of rapport that when they come in here, I don't have to go crazy on them or anything like that. We've established a relationship that they want to do well for me, and then inherently I want to do the same for them because we have that bond.
Talking about relationships, tell us about your relationship with Coach Lanning. What was it about Coach, and how long does that go back?
That was my first time ever talking to him, was when he called
Really?
me. Yeah, so he just, obviously there's some people on our staff in Pittsburgh that coach with him, and I asked them about him, and then Kenny Dillingham, I knew him, and then Tony Tuyo did the D-line coach. We were roommates in college. So
really?
And he just recruited my son recently. And Demetrius Martin, we worked together for 5 years at UCLA, so those are the ones I knew. Everybody else is pretty new.
Man, I think about these connections.
And sorry, I'm a little sweaty. I was running over here because I was running late.
Oh, no, Coach. That's great. Well, and I'll tell you, those of you many of you, in fact, have not been in the studio before. It runs real cold in here, so I think you actually did the right thing to build up the body temperature before you got here.
I'm 340. Once I build it up, it's hard to get it back down. So we're trying to get it under control. But
that's right. Yeah. Adrian Clem joining us, associate head coach, offensive line coach, and then Joe Lorig, special teams coordinator, is going to come in next. I want to go back and talk about how big this coaching industry is, because you mentioned that's amazing that now your room is going to be competing in practice every day against your old roommate's room every day in practice. I mean, this is not a very big profession, is it? You all kind of know each other.
We know each other, and I knew Tosh. Actually, I forgot about Tosh, but I knew Tosh from before, and there's one time we came close to working together. But I've coached against Tosh in the league and in college, and then Tony in college. So when he was at Cal, so I mean, there's been some crossover.
That's amazing.
It's kind of cool. Well,
I'm curious too, because the competitive juices that you guys all have are next level, right? That's why you guys do this. But you're competing against people you know, people you respect, people you're friends sometimes. I mean, does that make it even more competitive sometimes for coaches?
Yeah, because you just this morning, Tosh was talking stuff to me about Myles Garrett, a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, it's so long ago. And then we're talking a story about Tyson Alualu, and he thought he had him in Jacksonville, and it's almost like recruiting, and he came back. It didn't involve me, but we're just talking that story. But yeah, it's competitive all the way around. You want to do well, and you take pride in what you do, and it's a reflection of you,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what's the schedule ahead for you? You going to be able to settle in, family? I mean, tell us about that.
I'm here with my 2 boys, so I just we're trying to get settled. They're both in high school. They're at Sheldon. One's a senior, and then the other one's a sophomore. So he just started football workouts, and the other one's getting ready to go and going to another school. So he's getting ready to play football himself. So just focusing on that and just getting settled, find a home, and just trying to do those things. I just haven't ever had a chance to do those things.
So this is the 6th day or the 7th day that you've been in Eugene?
I think it's about the 7th.
This is the 7th day that you've been in Eugene. Well, hey, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
I won't keep you for too long. It's a busy day. Adrian Clem, everybody. That was fun, getting to know all of these head coaches and all of the new coaches. I said head coaches, but they all could be head coaches. Isn't that right? I mean, just listening to all of them talk. And we had fun on our signing day special. You can go back and watch it on the Go Ducks YouTube, Oregon Football Facebook, and Twitter. But we'll continue because we don't do that show just with the nature of how it's set up on the entire radio broadcast. That's why I like to sprinkle those interviews in over the course of the next week or so here on Duck Insider. Still a lot more to come. When we come back, I want to hear a little bit from Missy Lombardi. The Oregon softball head coach is going to join us for her weekly chat tomorrow. But she met with the media late last week, giving her thoughts on what the team looks like heading into a new season. That's what we'll finish up with next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Money isn't interested in the fact that you dream of going to Greece. And it doesn't pace at night wondering how you'll pay for braces 3 times. The point is, money without people is just money. Only people can use it to run the family ranch, buy their first house, or adopt a happy old dog. To us, the powerful thing about money isn't money at all. It's helping you harness the power of yours. On Point. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Oregon softball season begins this weekend. They're heading down to California, and Missy Lombardi late last week, the Oregon softball head coach, giving her thoughts on where the team's at as they had their media day. We're going to listen in a little bit of what Coach Lombardi had to say, some of her thoughts.
Missy, just wanted to confirm that Deja's moved on and what that does in the outfield. But if just personnel, if Ariel in particular is still one of the players, obviously we saw a lot in the fall and a lot of the fall games in the outfield. Has she solidified a spot?
Yeah, Ariel came back extremely prepared for this year. She put a lot of time in the summer. She has put so much into her swing and what she's done in the outfield that she's one that I'm really looking forward to seeing what this year is going to look like for her. I think you're going to see her explosive at the plate. She's worked really hard with Coach Martyr on her swing. She runs extremely well. And then just the experience that she's had from working in the outfield. I feel very, very good about her in the outfield.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious, coming off of last season, what some of the things you felt like the team needed to improve upon the most, and how that's been going in the off season, and how you feel going into the season with those aspects changing.
Yeah, obviously there's plenty of things that, as a coach, you're always like, we can improve on in different areas, but I think overall, just our depth. This year this is the deepest that we've been since I've been here. And so with that depth, what happens is that every single day that these guys go to practice, there's major competition at every spot. So I think there's been times in the past where we can let up a little bit on a day because I feel like I don't have somebody pushing me, where this year, that's what I've seen more than anything. There's such a push every single day, and the pressure and the competitiveness that's being applied at practice that what we've seen these guys done in the fall and even right now in the month of January, it's been great. They're all athletic, but it's just amazing when you have that competition going on and what it does for you.
Missy, what do you look for in these opening games? I'm sure as a coach, there's always something you look for in the early part of the season. So what are some of those things?
The main thing I want to see is just where are we? All year we've been talking to them about, what do you as an individual bring to this table and how are you dependable? And if you are, where are you dependable? Are you dependable on offense? Are you dependable on defense? How dependable are you on the mound? So, going into this first weekend, it's the first weekend. We're going to have some nerves. There's no question. But from there, it's what I want to see more than anything is just the work that this group has put in, that nothing needs to be forced. Trust the process, trust that what they've done up to this point is plenty good enough. And now let's play together versus constantly playing against each other.
Yeah, that's big heading into your first weekend. You're always going to have a couple of those nervous moments. I think that's totally natural, especially against an SEC team. The Ducks are starting off with a little bit of a bang. That 5:30 start on Thursday. Ole Miss is the opponent for the Ducks before they stay down in Fullerton area, and they're going to play the likes of CSUN. They're going to play, who else? Northwestern is in town. I don't think they're playing them in that tournament, though. Ryan's going to know better than me because Ryan's going to have the call. Thursday, 5:30, Oregon softball season begins. You can listen on KWVA student radio station. They've got all the softball matchups for you, at least as many as they can for you this year. Talk with Missy Lombardi on the show tomorrow. More from the Oregon football staff. And H.J. Cohn, Senior Associate Athletic Director, going to join us talking about all these facility improvement projects and a whole lot more. Good show. Go Ducks. See you tomorrow.
These are the sounds of a dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay.